I had done a lot of disaster relief work, and I had talked with the director of U.S. operations there about a program directorship position where my job would have been to come and uh, we'd move down to North Carolina next to the main office, and then when like tornadoes hit or hurricanes or whatever, I would be dispatched to that place over the U.S. I would assess and manage the teams that came in there for about the first 2.5 months, so I could bring my family with me or I could leave them at home. I love doing disaster relief work. It's a great opportunity to share the gospel of Christ. Tragedy, but didn't really like the idea of being away from my family, and especially with my temptation with sexual sin, I didn't want to put myself in a position where it could be, temptation. Well, basically, I had a job offer. If I applied, I had the job, and we would have had some money. Another option I was asked to come pastor a little country church of 8 for less than $200 a month. Now, here's the thing: we weren't saying no because of the money. The money is needed, but if that's what God wants you to do, I'm going to do it, and He'll take care of the rest. Whether He provides me like a secondary job or money just shows up on my doorstep. Probably the secondary job, but you never know how God does things. Well, we're praying and thinking about this, and really, I'm not ready. We didn't feel I was ready to pastor. We waited, and we really thought, okay, I think we're going to apply for at Samaritan's Purse, and we're going to pull the trigger. We're going to go to North Carolina. And when we were up at Word of Life for my in-laws' graduation, we're walking around the day before graduation up there at the end of the summer, and we're talking about this. And again, we're actually going to pull the trigger on this. And Elizabeth goes, well, I bring it up, and then Elizabeth goes, well, actually, Mandy, the other day told me they might have something that we could do, but I'm not really supposed to say anything yet until more people, they get to talk about it with the owners of the campground that Sam and I work at. And I was like, okay, which we were all for. We're 2 minutes from Elizabeth's parents here. We get to work with Sam and Mandy, our friends, which has been a huge blessing this year so far. I love getting to work with them. It's been fun. It's had its few points of tension challenges, but most of those came from me being on heavy pain medication, so we're going to let them slide. I'm not all there with it, so... but, yeah, anyway, so we ended up working here, living in a big studio apartment, basically, a conference room for the winter, rent and utility free with a 1-year-old. You breathe the wrong way, she wakes up. And we've made less than we've ever made in our lives here. But we have more disposable income than we ever had because we don't have rent or utilities. And it's been a huge blessing. This is where God wanted us, and this is where He still wants us. So anyway, okay, so that's kind of giving you the story. This is where we've been last year. Oh, what Elizabeth and I do, we have a rec park here that we run, but we also run a summer work program that's actually national. It goes to a bunch of different campgrounds. We were hired to kind of rework the program for our location and hire people to recruit and hire. So that's what we did over the winter, in addition to me reading a bunch of books. And that really brings us current to my health. We're here, we're working. I told you guys, I bruised the ribs. One other thing, Dr. Heelgood is the chiropractor that Sam sees. And I am going to see Dr. Heelgood. Well, I've started to see him. I've seen him, and I'm going to start my treatment. The doctors have suspected that I have Crohn's disease, or am developing Crohn's, which the owner of our campground has. It's a very nasty disease, if you don't know.
I know, it's awful.
About it. But, yeah, I've... every time they do the scopes, it looks like there's nothing wrong in there, but I have all these really horrible symptoms. Well, I went to this chiropractor, and this chiropractor is a little bit different. He doesn't just do adjustments, he does traction, some physical therapy kind of thing with you. It's sort of a very crude way of putting it. X-rays. We talk about it more in our Dr. Heelgood episode. Mm-hmm. Episode 7, was that? Yes,
yeah,
it was.
He's a good dude, I'm just going to say.
He is a good dude.
Dr. Heelgood's a good dude.
So anyway, he does x-rays for you, and come to discover when we did mine, the point in my spine that is damaged is the exact point in spine that it would mimic abdominal issues like Crohn's disease. So I will be starting here shortly with therapy to repair that. And if it works, I'm going to be cured. And I'm not going to have Crohn's, which would just be awesome to
Yes.
not have my colon taken out ever.
Fantastic.
So I'm super excited
Or
about
three
that.
times or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, anyway, different topic. Um,
Cut.
but yeah, so excited about that. Uh, so we're working here with our little girl and our summer staff team. It's been a real blessing to have them. It has been interesting sharing with them little snippets of paradigm shift and seeing the confused look on their faces because they're college and high school students. So it's pretty neat. Okay, so Sam wants me to wrap it up here. Now, well, we went down big on the legal issue this winter. I did. Uh, Leonard recommended to us a film called what was Leonard Slavery by Consent. Yeah, Leonard sent us that, and not everything in that film is correct, and I wouldn't take it as like the golden rule or anything. Um, but it introduces some good information, some good concepts anyway. And I watched that again and again, and I went through Ken Hovind's stuff on the free man sovereignty, strawman movement, all that stuff. And wow. So we've come through that. Really, after Paul Hansen, I'm feeling pretty confident in that affidavit of sovereignty there. I'm
Yeah.
working my way to doing it.
Well, that'll be I think a move we'll both do at the same time.
Yeah, gonna be like two little kids going nervously. Here it is. Don't arrest us.
No contract. Me no contract.
Anyway, yeah. Where am I now? Whew. Well, apart from the whole physical and where we're working, I am currently reading the Black Awakening, Rise of the Satanic Super, and the Black Awakening and Rise of the Satanic Super Soldier, by Russ Dizdar, who we have to email, but are hoping to have him on the show for October, the month of Halloween. Yeah, no, we are hoping to talk to Russ. I'm greatly enjoying his book. It's really been an eye opener, really to spiritual warfare. And you know what? I didn't really get into my stories with that. I've had some experiences over the last year. Yeah, spiritual warfare is real. Everyone, I'll leave it at that. But it's very real. It's relevant, and we as Christians need to be aware of it and arming ourselves for it. And really, that's really a big part of what Russ is really getting at in his book. And I think that's why he wrote it, also to warn people. But yeah, it's not what you think it is. If you have no idea who Russ Dizdar is in the Black Awakening, yeah, it's a lot more than what you might assume. So it's really good. I'd highly recommend reading it. So that's where I'm at. I have read Rob Skiba's Babylon Rising, Archon Invasion, working on the Black Awakening. I've read half of Jasher, most of Enoch at this point. Okay, so for Christmas, Sam got me Babylon Rising, and then my wife got me this huge book list. I mean, Doug Hamp's book, not the Millennial Chronicles, the Corrupting the Image. Rob's books, Tom Horn's, Chris Putnam's books, Apollyon Rising 2012, just a whole ton of them. So I have a reading list, and right now this current time in life I don't have time to get to it all. But yeah, that's really been my paradigm shift and where I'm at.
And what are you intending on doing with this in the future? I mean, what are your hopes of where we're at? What do we? I mean, obviously we don't know what's going to happen, but what are your thoughts on? I mean, not just this, but just your family.
As far as my family goes, my wife and I will be homeschooling, which we already knew that long before this. We do not vaccinate our children. We were tricked in, which I believe you heard on
yeah, we've got the story,
the one interview, how that happened to her getting one vaccination, but none more after that. We're homeschooling. We're not vaccinating. I intend to raise my children with the knowledge of these things and what goes on. so that they may have eyes to see and discerning eyes and discerning ear, to the news and the media. But hey, by the time they're old enough, it'll probably be so blatant a dog would know
Yeah.
what's going on.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know. I don't know what God's plan is, and timing for things. As far as what I want to do with this knowledge, personally,
This podcast.
this podcast, Canary Cry's going full time. I don't know if that'd ever be a call that God has for us. I feel like God's really placed Sam and I in a unique employment and position in life for the jobs that we work. It's a huge blessing. Um, but for this podcast, I mean, really the goal is, for me and for Sam too, but people would start to ask questions to give people the opportunity to listen and get some really deep down information. We try to do the longer episodes so that you guys can learn more about our guests are talking about, not just, here's my book, here's a few stories to go with it kind of
Hmm.
thing. I really enjoy going down deep. I hope that what we're doing actually inspires other people to pick up the microphone and start talking. Verify your information, do your research. But once you've really started to verify and learn things, start talking about it. Start letting people know. And as Chris White would say, don't dump them. You don't have to explain to everyone, everything in 20
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah. I
These
mean,
little bits.
I think
Ask questions. Sam's really good with this with people.
let the Spirit kind of lead those situations to you. But get into the Word.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, one thing I would really love to do. Obviously, not only do I want to talk to Kent Hovind, I want to meet Kent Hovind. Um, I'd love to actually meet Rob and Leonard in person someday. I know we'll meet Leonard, for sure. Um, I mean, that may be when the assassins are hunting us down to shut us up, but we'll meet him. um, but no, I would love to sit under Kent Hovind and maybe work with him, help him with his ministry in whatever way that I can.
Help rebuild his what's been
His
broken and taken
reputation,
from him.
yes.
Yeah.
What has been an attempt to silence him. I don't know if I'd ever move to Florida, but to support him not only financially and in prayer, but to be a ministry partner with him. I love debating. I'm certainly not Kent, but or Chris White for that matter, when it comes to debating and debunking those kind of things. But I'd like to get into some of that someday. I'm not sure when. I didn't think I'd ever be doing this, but I am. So I'm not going to close off possibilities, and we'll just see where the Lord takes it and leave it in His hands.